There are secrets out there, guys, performance marketing secrets, and knowing just one or two of them can absolutely light up your funnels. Let's go. This is the Revenue Driven CMO. I'm your host, Chris Mechanic. Join me as I uncover the secrets of the world's most elite CMOs and marketing leaders. The Revenue Driven CMO is sponsored by Web Mechanics, the AI-driven performance agency that makes you smarter. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Revenue Driven CMO. I'm here today with an amazing marketer who his philosophy just aligns with mine in so many different ways. He's a passionate, data-driven marketer with over 20 years of experience in marketing and communications. Uh, he's won dozens of awards, like including the Innovator Award for the most creative use of Gong. And he's currently VP of Marketing and Sales at Datarails. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Aviv Canaani. Aviv, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks. Really excited to be here today.
I'm super excited to be here today. And I love the secret that you selected. Like it's something because most of our business, or not most, but at least half of our business is in B2B. And sometimes, B2B can be boring. And so I love the secret that we talked about pre-show, and please drop it on us.
Yeah, so I've been doing B2B for a while, and I'm a strong proponent of the fact that B2B, it doesn't have to be boring to boring. Started at IBM. I went to my way across like different startups. Like you mentioned, now I'm at Datarails. We're a solution of FP&A to the office of the CFO, right? Sounds like kind of boring and formal, like, right, you're selling to CFOs or finance people. It probably needs to be very standardized. Like you need to talk just about ROI and numbers. But no, we want to make it fun and engaging. I really believe that at the end of the day, marketing is all about really getting them engaged and excited. And yeah, we can
Yeah.
even make FP&A sexy.
Well, I think getting attention is the first thing, right? Like if you can't capture somebody's attention, there's no way that you can sell to them. Uh, and pre-call when we were talking about this, I liked the concept. Once you shared with me some of the ads or some of the actual posts that you guys were running, I was like, wow, this is brilliant. Like you don't see that a lot in B2B. But how did you come up with this?
Yeah, I'll be happy to elaborate. And like to your point, I think that the problem we have in marketing is that 99% of marketing or ads is just noise. So you want to get outside of that. You want to have people notice you, especially if you market to them, on like LinkedIn or if, even Facebook. Like you're competing with their friends and colleagues, and politicians are interested in, or influencers they follow. You have to do something that is remarkable, that's different, that's interesting. So, for example, like in our Datarails LinkedIn page, it used to be just like boring things about features in our product, or
Yeah,
general things highlighting, I don't know, people in a company, or like who we're hiring, like what kind of positions we're hiring for. We
right.
changed that. We created like a media company within Datarails, and we generate content like 2 posts per day. It can be funny memes about finance. Yes, FP&A professionals have a sense of humor. It can be sharing and highlighting what influencers are posting about the world of FP&A with like cheat sheets about accounting and FP&A and best practices. We're talking about different FP&A leaders that were able to really change the direction of their companies. Even Amazon Prime, I don't know if you know, like was actually started by someone that was leading their FP&A at Amazon. And like one of the examples I shared with you before is like we just posted. Again, we do it on a regular basis. Sometimes it flops, sometimes it succeeds. We did like this funny meme, this short video of like FP&A going like through the mud like a truck. Again, you have to follow our channel to understand it. We
Well, I
got
have to share that because some people
yeah,
will be watching this on video, right?
yeah.
Um, so I'll share it for them, and then I'll just describe it for the people that are on audio. But this is just brilliant. I mean,
Yeah, like we got like thousands of like hundreds of comments, dozens of shares, and like
and
people are sharing, talking about it, really enjoying it, showing, commenting, noting, mentioning their friends. And like again, we're a B2B startup, a LinkedIn page. Yeah, let's see it.
so can you see my screen right now?
Yeah. Mhm.
All right, cool. So this is the ad, and for people on audio, this looks like a monster truck. It looks like a monster truck getting ready to drive into this ditch, which is filled with water. And on top of the monster truck are the spectators. So it's like people, I guess, taking a ride on a monster truck. And they're slowly. So, oh, and what is that? Titanic music in the background?
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to get the music in the background, but yeah, there's like a Titanic music in the
So
background
it's
while
the
they're going into the
Titanic
swamp.
music in the background, the near, far, wherever you are. And then, oh my God, it's so funny. Like the visual. So it's these excited, these excited partygoers on top of a monster truck expecting a ride in this monster truck. And they're in this water and they're just like slowly sinking and sinking deeper and deeper. The camera zooms out and it shows the people as the budget and the FP&A software. Oh, the reforecast. It's so good. It's just too good. Sorry, I know that wasn't the best for the listeners, but that's incentive. Go grab the video of this. You can find it on the site or probably on LinkedIn. We'll definitely share that little snippet with you on LinkedIn, but that's so good. Like, and oh, by the way, so Datarails has 20,000 followers, organic followers on LinkedIn, just to give you a sense. And that particular post generated at this point 2,300 likes, 77 comments, and 162 reposts. Right? But like, how do you come up with that? Like who? Like, just tell us. Like, where does that come from? With the
Yeah,
Titanic music? Like, who comes up
so
with that?
starting with that, we have like a great marketing team. Actually, like all of our LinkedIn efforts are led by our director of brand and communication. His name is Jonathan Marciano. And yeah, like even the fact that we got to like 20,000 followers is amazing. Again, we're a startup of 100 and something, employees. And we just surpassed companies with thousands of employees that are our competitors in terms of followers. And we're trying to do, just fun and engaging and interesting, thought-provoking content on our page. And like I mentioned before, the goal is to be a media company. Our goal is to have people follow our LinkedIn page. We want them to check out our content, looking forward, to the next piece of content. So again, I encourage all of you, if you want, check out our page, even if you're not an FP&A, maybe you can get inspired and get some ideas. So again, but most of the work here, I'll attribute to Jonathan Marciano from my team.
And where did Jonathan come from? I mean, did you hire him or was he there already
Yeah,
when
he
you
came.
joined?
He was also director of communications in other companies, but it's important to mention we're doing it across different teams. What you saw now is an organic post. We do the same thing also with ads. So with an ad, actually, my director of user acquisition, his name is Hod Sivan. We create a funny video about "Don't touch my sheet," not sheet. And again, funny
Like your
ad. Check it
Excel
out, like
sheet.
on YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah,
like it's
because
all about like making those jokes about shit and sheet and so forth. And again, like it's hard to describe. I'm just saying, like once we did that, we got so many like different comments from people. Like we doubled like the ROI only right after we launched. And I think like it's not only a matter of the leads that come in. And again, we have great ROI, and we'll talk about it later. But it's also a matter that you build affinity. You want like a company that is likable, that you can relate to, and hopefully, eventually we will make the sale. Whether it's now or a year from now, we want people to like us and follow us.
that's awesome. And for the audience who, may not be that familiar with the FP&A space. So FP&A stands for financial planning and analysis. We haven't talked much about data rails yet. We'll get into that. But so don't touch my sheet refers to like an Excel sheet, right? Because most of your customers before they meet you, they would be doing all of their financial planning in Excel. So it's like, hey, don't
Yeah,
touch my sheet. But it's like,
exactly. Like
but it's
we have a
a
software selling to FP&A professionals that most of their job is just within Excel, and really sort of supercharge their Excel, automate it, create all the consolidations within Excel. We integrate, with QuickBooks Online, with NetSuite, and a lot of other software. So it's really taking your FP&A work to the next level. So a lot of what we do is really related to Excel. So, we are trying to play a lot with it, whether it's with our different user acquisition ads or with our organic content, like getting people to relate to something they're very aware of and like the tool they're using all day, which is Excel.
yeah. I gotta see the "Don't touch my sheet" ads. But,
Yeah.
but, so you mentioned so who came up with that concept? Was that also, the communications director, or was that the
No,
user
that was
acquisition?
actually our director of user acquisition, Hod Sivan, and also it's a program we did with Google for Startups. Where it's a program that we did with them. So it's like a joint program. The goal was really to do campaigns on YouTube. So we funded half, they funded half, and they connected us with a great production company called Blackboard. And together, we came up with the idea, filmed it, and yeah, it's an amazing ad. And like also everyone in the company really likes it. And I think that's important as well. You also want to get the internal support from people in the company. And like I think you need to create content that is good enough that your employees really want to share it, as opposed to what a lot of other marketers do is like you kind of beg people in the company, please share our stuff. And like if they do it by themselves, it means like you have good content.
That's such good advice, and you guys are clearly, beyond the curve, meaning like you're more advanced than most, because most marketers and most advertisers are still producing content that you would consider to be of the boring variety. Um, I am well, I love this topic. I have like 100 more questions for you, but if you're speaking with somebody, say you're speaking with a peer of yours, a colleague of yours, and you like, and they basically say like, okay, well, what can I do? Like what steps should I take? Like, imagine that I'm in a world where we're creating generally boring content and boring campaigns. Like, how can I take a step towards that funnier? Like, it seems like you rely a lot on humor, right? So, how can I get toward that funnier, more engaging thing if there's some barriers? For instance, a barrier might be, hey, I don't really have any good ideas. Those are some really great ideas that you had, how to generate ideas. Or maybe the barrier might be, hey, the executives are a little bit more, a little bit more conservative, a little bit hesitant to do things like that and to put things like that out into market. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so a few things. I think first of all, you really need to understand your target audience. What makes us as marketers laugh, it's not the same thing as finance people. I think you really need to understand that audience. And at the beginning, we made some mistakes, so stuff that we thought is funny and was less funny, I guess, for finance people. But there is no replacement of trying to be creative. I think the second point is, and this is really important, when we first did it, a board member asked us, why are you doing this? Like, you're selling to CFOs. This is a bit embarrassing. Why are you making like these jokes? So my second point is that you have to have guts. You have to say, trust me, this is going to work with time. And it's not that the first video we did had like 2,000 likes, like the example you showed before. We had a lot of content that didn't work. We still have content that sometimes doesn't work. You just need to keep and be persistent. Do it on a daily basis for the organic content. Same thing also, I think, with with user acquisition. We try a lot of different things. Again, I gave you an example with Don't Touch My Sheet, something that worked, but there's a lot of things that don't work. And I'll give you like maybe the third and last point here is connecting the previous two is the fact that if you need help with creativity, you have great tools like ChatGPT. And I'll give you a great example here. At some point, our product marketing manager left the company. So we have a motion designer on the team, and he was stuck because he used to work with her on creating the content and scripts, for videos, because it's a more important to mention. Most of our user acquisition ads, the one that work is actually user-generated content kind of videos. It's like really fun, engaging videos. Again, very different than what you see like in the industry. So he started using ChatGPT. And all of a sudden, ChatGPT gives him a lot of ideas. He's running around in the office with like cameras and mics, and they're like, we're filming employees. And actually, our best performing ad in the past year is a funny ad we did with just like a random employee in the company that he's trying to be like this cool FP&A person. It seems like super basic. We wrote it again, like in less than a day. Again, we plus ChatGPT, and it's working amazingly. It just looks authentic. It looks real. It looks fun. Yeah, I would combine like all these things, and especially I think the main point is like have guts, try things, and be ready. Some things are not going to work.
That makes a lot of sense. And the first point that you made was really to understand your audience. Uh, so understanding your audience, which you could also use ChatGPT to do. Like, you could use
Sure.
ChatGPT and say, hey, here's 5 ideas. Here's my audience. Like, which of these ideas do you think would resonate most with them? Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, so
definitely.
know thy audience, right? That's 101. But have some guts, have some, some chutzpah and say like, yo, like when the board member does give you sheet, when they try to give you sheet,
Uh,
be like, hey, this will work. And it will, man. Humor is so universal. If you can make
exactly.
somebody laugh.
Exactly. It's like it's relevant for everyone. And like again, even finance people who have a sense of humor. They're people at the end of the day. You're not selling to a business, you're selling to human beings. You just need to really understand them and again willing to make risks. Like for example, like one time we tried to do like this funny meme with like Beyonce, and again it didn't work and it was kind of awkward because like we didn't understand the target audience correctly. But once you understand them, like we also again like I have dozens of examples. We also did something with actors, from The Office. Again, something super basic we did with Cameo, and that also resonated really good. But you really need to understand what they're passionate about and really show them as the heroes. So, like the finance department as their heroes, show them that you really care about them, that you understand their own, inside humor, and also try, speak with clients or speak with members of the team that might be, from a financial background in our case, or people that used to do FP&A, and get their inputs.
So how do you deal with copyright issues? Like with that, with uh the organic post that we just showed, like you guys didn't record that. Like that wasn't your footage, I don't imagine. But how do you navigate like when you're using Beyonce or this or that actress, or even just a piece of footage that didn't belong to you in the first place?
So, no comment, or we'll move to the next question. Or like, but
Okay.
seriously,
Do
like
you want to
again, it's
nix
just
that?
like I know, but we're here amongst friends, right? So I can say that again, I used to work at IBM many years ago. I think there are things that you can do when you're a startup that you can't do when you're a big company. And especially, I think when you're a startup, you just have to take risks because if not even IBM, let's say like Amazon or Apple or Microsoft, they can play it safe. Everyone knows them. Everyone's expecting, what they're going to do next. When Apple makes, their announcements, like people just join an online feed and like just want to hear out, like, what the CEO, Tim Cook has to say. But when you're a startup, no one cares. No one cares about your product. No matter what is your value proposition, they just don't care. You have to make them care. You have to stand out. You need to interrupt them, and you need to make that experience pleasurable, and you just have to take those risks, and this is one of the risks that you take.
Yeah, and it's probably not a big one. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't think the punishment would be really all that bad, especially with because like with meme, I mean, everybody does that with memes or with little social clips. So
yeah,
that's badass. This has been one of the coolest conversations and one of the coolest secrets. I love the idea of ads that are not boring, like ads that don't. I usually call it ads that don't look like ads.
yeah.
But ads that don't look like ads that don't suck, ads that aren't boring, especially in B2B, man, like everybody needs to take take at least a sliver from this conversation and inject it into their marketing and their ad campaigns.
Yeah, I can actually give you like another example, example I love. I used to work at a different startup called Workies, and over there we were selling to electricians, locksmith, like a CRM, also to junk removal people. So we did this like expensive ad, didn't work, didn't really move the needle. So then we had another idea. We found on YouTube this so-called influencer, a guy that explains about junk removal, how to own your junk removal business and be good at it. He had like 1,000 followers. That's it. Okay. So we reached out to him and we told him, how about we do an ad together? And we offered him $300. Okay. Because again, who in the world would ever come to him and also offer him to do an ad? We also, once we wrote a script for him, we asked him to shoot it because again, he had he has a camera and all that. He used to do like YouTube stuff. Once we got this back, we also had like this guy in Upwork, edit it from Sri Lanka. So the entire cost of that was $500, but it was super authentic. Like the guys, like we wrote the script, but the guys like walking around in the junk removal truck, talking about different things. It was our best performing ad for 2 years. And the thing I loved the most, it didn't only bring ROI to the point you were mentioning, it gets so many comments. People are saying, wow, Austin, you do ads now? This is great. And a lot of junk removal people started commenting on it. And again, it's not organic post, it's an ad. And people were starting to have really cool, engaging, and real conversations on our ad. Like there's nothing, you can expect more of an ad than having that. So that was a remarkable experience, that I'm always trying to get more wins like that. But it's hard because sometimes you'll fail.
That is so cool, man. And you have a lot of win stories, and you guys are hustlers. Like just the idea of like, hey, go hire this uh micro influencer with 1,000 followers and have them to record it, and then have somebody on Upwork to edit the video. Like that's hustler mentality, that's startup mentality, and that's admirable. I like that.
Thanks. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of the stuff that you guys do as well. It's like, I think that especially when you serve startups or smaller companies, you just have to think differently. If you're going to play by the same rules as the big companies and the enterprises, you're never going to win.
Yeah. Cool. Well, tell me, we've spoken about Datarails. You've told us some of your big wins, and you've called out some team members. Are there any other, or is there anything else that you want to call out in terms of big wins? Like we've talked about sort of like individual ads at this point, but is there any sort of more macro elements that you're really proud of in your time there so far?
Yeah. So I think what I'm doing now in Datarails, it's interesting. I joined the company about a couple of years ago. And when I joined, actually, the company was 95% outbound and like 40 SDRs. And in the past 2 years, we started making all these changes, going more into inbound. The founder brought me in to say, okay, everything's going well, we're growing, but try to do something in marketing. And actually 2 years later, I can say that not only am I managing now the SDRs and the sales, but 95% of our revenue comes from inbound. So it was like a
Wow.
complete shift. We grew X6 in the last couple of years. So yeah, it was a big change. I think it's also in revenue, also in building the brand. And
So you
yeah,
went
it's
from
just,
90% outbound to 95% inbound. Basically
yeah,
switched it.
completely switched the model. And I'm so happy we did it in time, because when I joined, it was before everything happened in the market. I think outbound today is much harder than it used to be. People are more hesitant, spending more money on things they don't have very high intent on. So I don't know where the company would have been if we didn't do this switch really to inbound. But again, it's really based on the great team we have. Like I mentioned, with Jonathan Marciano as the director of content, Sivan mentions the user acquisition. I mentioned also, I forget to mention the name, but our motion designer does all the ads in the office with the camera, again, with $0 production other than his salary. His name is Omri Yadgar. And again, we have a team of about 10. Yeah, we really have a great marketing team here.
Nice. Well, that team deserves some props, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for that team. That's awesome. And you as well, sir. Like, where did you come from? Can I hire you as a consultant?
It's the official answer is I'm happy where I am. No, but it's important to mention, we, as every other company today, still have struggles, things that we're trying to still figure out. It's not easy, but yeah, at the end of the day, I think, they always say that the goal of marketing is to make sales easy. It's all about showing the revenue. And you have to keep pushing things through to really make sure that it's not only you do fun things that you can say and show your mom or friends and saying oh, this was a cool ad I did, or cool organic content. At the end of the day, you need to show ROI. So that's my main focus.
What would you say, just curious, what would you say was your most formative experience or your most formative years? Like, was it your time at IBM where you
Um,
kind of where you kind of grew into your own skin, so to speak?
Yeah, it's hard to pick one. Also, maybe in Workies, my previous company, the fact that it was the first time I was giving the opportunity to really manage, a marketing team from the ground up when I joined. It was just me and one employee in marketing and another one that was a part-time employee. And we helped the company grow from around A to around C company, raised $100 million. And we had at the end 9 people in marketing. So that was really fun. So you get to explore a lot, I worked there. One of the people that helped me the most that I hired was our user acquisition manager, Roinar, that did a great job there. But I think you never know something until like you get your hands dirty, and that's like the reason why I wanted to leave IBM or like a big company to be in like a sandbox, like this little startup that you can really go wild, test new things, and at the end of the day, you also want to have fun. If you really believe in something, you have to go for it and test it. Worst case, you get fired, but it's worth the risk. I think it's like, why always, do just the regular things, wondering what would have happened if you really went with what you believe.
Worst case, you get fired. I love that. Well, hopefully you won't get fired for for an ad that doesn't do well.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, back to Datarails. I'm curious. I mean, it sounds like you guys are just kicking ass and taking names, and really taking the FP&A space by storm. What are some of the things that you're challenged by? Like, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah, so one of the things that recently happened, they promoted me also to manage sales. So now VP marketing and sales. So one of the things I'm trying to work on is really the full buyer journey. I feel that there might be issues in like what we see in marketing and how we do the handoff to SDRs, how the handoff happens from SDRs to sales, from sales to pre-sales. I want to create like a full deal buyer journey where everyone understands like what happens. So, you know, because at the end of the day, like we see it as like different teams, but for a client, it's just one company. And I think if we create an amazing experience, not only in the ad, but all the way through to the moment, they sign the contract or even do like the kickoff, customer success, that is what's really going to make the difference. And sometimes, everyone's passionate across different teams. And sometimes, something you can do with something in marketing and it can really clash with something that happened in sales or customer success and all that. So really creating an amazing buyer journey is really critical. And that's the main focus I have now. And I think it's going to help improve, conversion rates and help the company grow even more.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what is your sales model? Is it like a free trial model, or is it more of a like speak with the sales rep and
Yeah, so it's more like
get a
speak with a
custom
sales
demo?
rep, and it's like an annual contract. So that's why I think it's even more important because at some point you just like, you move outside the online world into, like just having the one-on-one conversation with sales. I think that's a part that's harder to manage, whether you're in marketing or sales, it's, based on the one-on-one interactions. So you really want to have, the full team on board of this kind of buyer journey, client experience to make sure it's really a great experience that, we're presenting to the prospect throughout any step they are in the cycle.
Yeah. And I mean, in a long selling cycle type of environment, remarketing is usually like one of the things that I go to most. But I bet you, well, actually, no. There's almost two ways you could do it. It's almost like you could exclude your active pipe from seeing any ads. Like all they would see is the organic stuff. Or on the flip side, you could target them specifically and like bid up on them and attempt to serve them with messages that would align or otherwise like, help that sales process go along. How do you think about that? Like when you think about audiences and audience management, do you tend to exclude those folks from your retargeted campaigns or do you add them specifically to their own retargeted campaigns?
We do a lot of retargeting. I really believe that, especially today, 2023, um, you can't really measure the buyer journey. I remember like 10 years ago when I was like, less than 10 years ago, when I was at IBM, we used to like draw a chart of like, okay, you get this email, you download this ebook, then you do this, then you do that. But like today, you don't really know. Like one person can just see a lot of ads for half a year, then click on something, then ask a friend, then go to G2 and check your reviews, and then ask for a demo, and later go back and read an ebook. Like you don't really know. So I want to have like create like a great experience throughout, understanding that I can't really control it. So yeah, throughout like the whole buyer journey, I'm going to keep serving ads, keep showing our best features. Um, not only with ads, newsletters, everything we can do to really push them, through the finish line.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's true. You can't really control the buyer journey. And I think even 8 or 10 years ago when we thought we could, it was probably similar where we thought we were controlling the buyer journey, but actually I like your philosophy of, you know, regardless of the path, regardless of the touch points, like make it cohesive and make it aligned and make it powerful. I dig
Yeah,
that.
that's why just needs to be great. Like everything you're doing, whether it's a newsletter or the ads, it can't be just like great ads, but like bad newsletters or bad sales experience. Like you want to be on top of your game throughout. And even, like you mentioned that also in the past, let's say even 50 years ago, you couldn't really control anything. Like if someone goes, meets colleagues at a bar and talks about your company, you don't know. They say that the brand, your brand, is what people talk to you behind your back or when you're not in the room. So it's the same thing. I wondered if like a few CFOs meet and mention Datarails, maybe even if they're not clients, because say, oh, I really like their ads or I like their content or they seem fun. And like if it's something positive, feel like the moment they will think about an FP&A solution, I hope they're going to think about us first.
Yeah. Yeah, and they might be like, "Oh man, I was seeing the funniest content on LinkedIn. I can't remember who it was from. Let me go look it up." And they would probably pull up their phone right then and there and find you.
Exactly.
Um, cool. Well, you're clearly doing good things. I think that company is really happy or really lucky to have you. And they recognize the talent that they have in you, and they said, "Hey, Aviv, you know, don't only own marketing. Maybe you could be in charge of sales too." And I have a feeling that soon they're gonna be like, "Oh, Aviv, maybe you could be in charge of customer success, and maybe you could be in charge of product, and maybe you could just be the CEO before long."
One step at a time. We have great colleagues here in customer success and great CEO and COO, but like, yeah, I'm
Nice.
happy I can also help here in sales. And I think that's like for me a learning process. I'm growing. I'm learning more about sales. Like a great sales team I work with, and I think it's important that every time you step into something new, you come in humble. I'm sure like I have things to help the team with and come up with different kinds of ideas. But like at the end of the day, like I think it's all about finding the right and smart people to work with in the company and getting their ideas and making sure that you really that there's great alignment throughout.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm interested, to talk about recruiting and talent, um, but that's a good seg into the next question that I have for you is that, if we look out into the future, the rest of this quarter, the rest of this year, maybe next year, what are some things that you guys are investing in or thinking about, whether tech or talent? How are you guys redeploying capital?
Hmm. Um, yeah, interesting question. I'll tell you one thing because of like the current economic situation. Like a lot of other companies, we had to do like some kind of small layoffs and all that. But it's great to see that, we're still hitting our numbers as before, improving our CAC. I think in the past year, it's reduced by like half of what it was last year. Um, but the way that we're figuring out, I think, is twofold. And this is my recommendations, what I'm trying to tell the team. Everything that we need like that is manual or you need support with rather than thinking as the first solution of hiring, there's two other things: offshore and AI. So for
ChatGPT,
example,
right?
like our SDR team in the past, we have, like I mentioned, 40 something people in the US. Now it's a team in the Philippines, all run through Upwork. We have like a great manager for the team. Her name is Jordan Ross. She manages that team, and they're super productive. They're just as good as Americans or Europeans or people from any other country, and they do exactly what we asked of them. Highly recommended. Once that was a success, we also starting now supporting like our marketing operations person with having her like all the manual stuff she's doing. Like we got her also like someone in India to support her, and we're trying to leverage that as much as possible. And the second point is AI. Like I mentioned before, is whether it's providing scripts or helping with ideation, for blog posts or other things like that. Even we create now a process where the AI listens to SDR calls and it decides if it should qualify to a meeting or not. Really something great that was created by our marketing operations manager, Edith Rosen, and also our SDR manager, Jordan Ruas. you worked on it together. So it's great. Like ChatGPT actually tells you if to qualify the meeting. Amazing.
Wow, that's awesome. So what do? You grab like the call transcript and then you run it through ChatGPT with a prompt?
Exactly. Yeah, asking for specific questions. We have like 6 different criterias to pass, whether it's title, company size, and other things. And like if based on the transcript, ChatGPT makes the decision. So for now, we see like more than 80% of the qualified calls also are approved by ChatGPT. And every time ChatGPT says something different than the SDR, then like Jordan, the SDR manager, she listens to the call and makes a decision if it was the right thing or not. But like we're guided now, and we want to make those transitions into AI as much as possible. By the way, it's also happening within our product. It's for product FP&A conversation, but like also in marketing, we'll try to leverage AI as much as we can.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm very curious about that. Without getting too deep into the weeds, I'm curious uh, for Datarails and also just any other companies, how do you guys manage your ChatGPT subscriptions? Like, does your team, do you have a Datarails, like ChatGPT account where everybody's using Datarails account? Or are individuals using their own ChatGPT account?
Yeah, so I guess it's one of the things I need to figure out as well. Currently, just individuals are using it, and we're paying, for ChatGPT for it. But if someone has like a better idea, please like ping me like on LinkedIn. The cost is not that high, so I'm approving it to everyone in the team that wants it. But I'm sure like with time, there will become better best practices to how to do that.
Yeah, our CTO has built like an interface basically uh, that everybody uses where you could select either ChatGPT 3.5 or 4. You can change the temperature and all these things. And it also built Bard into it because Bard is better than ChatGPT in some cases. Like when you need real time, like if you want to do competitor research, for instance, like because Bard can just search the web like that. Whereas ChatGPT could, for a little while, search the web. I think they took the browsing feature away for some reason. But even when it was live, that browsing feature, like it was very slow and very, hit or miss.
Yeah, I think that's why I think you really need to, as a manager, educate your team and ask them to try AI. And sometimes, they'll come up with ideas, like I mentioned before, that we didn't think about. Like, the way that they came actually with that idea is that I gave a challenge to the team. I told them, everyone needs to like start using AI for something they're doing, okay, not for the product, for something to help make their lives better. And the winner will get a prize. And actually, the idea I mentioned before with SDR and the AI came up, from that kind of exercise. So again, I encourage all the VPs, CMOs out there to just let your team come up with ideas, and they're probably going to think about better ideas than you can.
That's brilliant. Well, Aviv, this has been an inspiring conversation. I've really enjoyed it. I want to get you out of here on time, but I'm really impressed with what you're doing at Datarails, and I just love your ads. I love the content. It's just funny, man. It's funny, and it really resonates, I think, and it really stands out from the crowded marketplace. So very well done, and props to your team as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. It was great like being on your show again. I listened to a few episodes even before, and I learned a lot, from different guests that you had. And I think this is what's interesting. I think the industry is changing a lot. So it's all about just getting different ideas from other CMOs, finding best practices here or there, and implementing it. Thanks, for having me on the show and for running this podcast. It's awesome.
Absolutely, man. So there's one last thing we got to do, which is the lightning round, which is the 3 questions that I ask to every guest. And you just shoot from the hip. Don't think about it too much. But question number one, if you were to start a side hustle, what side hustle would that be?
I think I would use my powers for good, like maybe try to be a CMO for some kind of a nonprofit or some kind of cause I really believe in. It's hard, when you have to pay the bills and all that, but I would love to do some kind of volunteer work like that.
That's a good one. Cool. And then top three books or authors or influencers that have really made an impact in your career.
Yeah, so the first one is very popular is the book Influence by Robert Cialdini. I read it also when I was in college, and I think it's great not only for marketers or salespeople, it's everyone that wants to be successful in life or, with partners, or with family, with business, anything. Highly, highly recommend it. The other one is Predictably Irrational by Dana Ariely, also Israeli like me, and he also was my lecturer at Duke when I studied there. Uh, Great guy, super entertaining, and the books are all the books that he wrote are great as well.
Nice.
And the last one I tried to add, a sales book. So I just recently read, the Challenger Sale, and I really liked the approach there. Again, it's not that we're using it now, but it just gets you to think about sales in a different way. And I think that in general, I highly recommend marketers to read more sales book, just really to increase your breadth of what you understand and know, and also understanding your sales counterparts. So yeah, highly recommend that book as well.
Yep. I love the Robert Cialdini books. That guy's genius. I've never seen Predictably Irrational. But Challenger Sale, absolutely. And I think marketers would be well served to read more sales, um, and also to do more sales. Like we've had guests recently that have been like, "Hey, CMO, like jump on a sales call, like like go be an SDR for a day or two and see what that's like." And it's really, I mean, it can be obviously it's going to be challenging, but it I think really provides a lot of great perspective. And some of the
Definitely, yeah,
best
it's super scary. I can imagine, but like, yeah, I think it's important to put yourself out there and take the risk.
I think some of the best marketers are like used to be salespeople or even used to be devs. Like you find some really talented marketers that have an engineering or a development background. So I think that cross functional skill set's really important. Cool. Question number three. How do you avoid getting burned out? And how do you help your team to avoid that as well?
That means just like having fun and enjoying the ride. Like at the end of the day, I think what we're doing, especially today in marketing as opposed to the past, is it's like a game. You get a budget, you need to drive X amount of revenue. If you look at it like as a game when you were a teenager staying at home, like playing a lot of video games, like I look at it the same way. It's like you have a goal, you want to accomplish it, and you want to enjoy it as much as possible. So, like one of the ways that I do it is, going wild with my ideas and my team's ideas. Also, do like the engaging and fun content we spoke about before, but also remembering, at the end of the day, it's just a job, just a company. Don't need to stress out too much. And I try to say the same thing, for the team members. Sometimes you're going to have good months, sometimes you're going to have bad months, but you really need to enjoy the ride and enjoy what you're doing and feel like you're engaged and that you're learning. And I think everything follows that.
I like that. I like that. Just a generally lighthearted mentality. I think that's really smart and that's really good. Most times people will say something like, we encourage vacation or we encourage like no work Wednesday or no meeting Wednesday or things like that. But I like that perspective of just, enjoy the ride, take it light, take it easy. I mean, spoiler alert, we're all gonna die at some point.
Yes.
You're not gonna be thinking probably about data rails on your deathbed. So
Yeah, I know it's always surprised me. When I went to like business school, I had a few friends that like went on to work in like companies that they grind you to death, and you have to stay really late, and like it's all about FaceTime and fake stuff. And like they were saying, no, but it's good. It's like it's gonna help me in my next step in my career. And I'm like, you live only once. Like try to enjoy like every job you do as much as possible. Then you can move on from one step to another just to move up, the chain or up the pyramid. And like if you don't enjoy what you're doing, I don't think it really matters how much you're earning. Like at the end of the day, like we spend most of our time at work or even think about work. So yeah, you better do something you actually enjoy.
love it. Love it. All right, Aviv. Well, time's just about up here. Um, for everybody that's listening, if you are enjoying this, if you learned something, if you laughed a little bit today, drop us a like or a comment or share this with a friend. Aviv, if folks want to learn more about you or Datarails, where would you direct them?
Yeah, so please follow me on LinkedIn. Feel free to DM me. Be happy, to get your thoughts. If you enjoyed something I was saying, or enjoy like our ads or getting content, let me know. If you think it's all fake and fluffy, and let me know as well. I'd love to get your thoughts. Always interested in having conversation with other marketers or salespeople. And yeah, always looking also to get inspired by other ideas.
Awesome, Aviv. Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I'm sure everybody really enjoyed this. Stay on the line just 1 minute. But for everybody that's listening, that was another awesome episode of Revenue Driven CMO, and we will see you next time. And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us here today. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at revenuedrivencmo.com. That's revenuedrivencmo.com. And hey, exclusive for listeners of this podcast, Web Mechanics will do 10 to 20 hours of work for you for free. Literally no sales calls, no BS. Just give them a problem and they will put a team to work for you for free for 10 to 20 hours. Even if you're already a client, if you're struggling with demand gen, lead gen, SEO, SEM, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, conversion optimization, if you can't get Facebook or Meta ads to work for the life of you, or you can't figure out attribution, Web Mechanics will take a good hard look at whatever problem you give them, whatever programs you put in front of them, and they will give you an objective, informed opinion, plus some advice from 10 to 20 hours of senior level attention. And that's just because you're a listener of this podcast. So I would suggest take them up on this offer. It's ridiculous. Go to revenuedrivencmo.com/free, fill out the 2-minute form, and you will not regret it. Literally zero downside, unlimited potential for growth. So do yourself a favor, revenuedrivencmo.com/free, no hyphens, no punctuations. You will be happy about that decision.